Scatterheart, and today's post is in response to my little writing about is it okay to like the UFC. As you can see, I'm just doing a little training in the park right now. Apparently a storm of controversy erupted. I'm just going to grab a piece of paper here. We'll follow me over there. Kneel down. Regarding my little writing. Now what I was saying was I'm not sure if it's okay to like the UFC or not. I mean, I'm torn. I do enjoy it. I think I admire the athleticism of it. But sometimes I do feel like it glorifies violence. And apparently a lot of people had some opinions on it. Stephen Calvert was very outspoken. He's been basically, embarrassing me since the mid-90s. So what did he have to say here? He says he wants to see men fighting grizzly bears underwater and in space. He'll wager within another year of economic recession, UFC and American gladiators will verge with dogfighting, with motocross and blood sport will reach glorious heights not seen on pay-per-view since the Holy Roman Empire. He went a little bit further than that. He also said, Jesse, you are crazy. Put it back in your pants and stop flexing. What? I still love you, you elegant prancing multi-hued roid monkey. I'm obviously on steroids. I just felt like destroying something beautiful. Later on, though, in response to something else, he said this. Yeah, and think of the mass catharsis and collective psychological integration which would ripple and flow from satellite-linked stadiums around the world watching Fedor eat a man's heart while it's still beating. Now, he knows who Fedor is, Emelianenko, so he must actually watch the UFC. You're busted, Steve! You like it too! And maybe it's the homoerotic content of it, I'm not sure. Nathan Bryce, aka Nathan Pike, said, is kneeing someone's face apart intimate touching? Now, he's being sarcastic, but I also know Nathan likes UFC, so there you go. I know he watches it just as much as I do. Dwayne Jones, big Scatterheart superfan, says, from what I've seen, UFC is mostly hugging anyway. Which is kind of true. That's what Kate says. That's what a lot of women say. They're like, what are those guys doing? They're just hugging each other and basically kind of like being romantic. There's very little punching. The best response, I think, came from Dana Pemberton, who basically expresses better than I could how I feel about it. So, bear with me. I'm going to read this, Dana. Jesse, you should do some training, which I have. I've done lots of different martial arts. Before I got heavily into yoga, I was doing martial arts every day. I think you would benefit from it greatly because you are unafraid to explore and learn about yourself. Thank you, Dana. That is true. I've been involved in martial arts almost my entire life in one form or another, and it has been and continues to be one of the greatest joys of my life. Instead of heightening a thirst for violence and spectacle, training and sparring hard in a safe, controlled, and properly supervised environment actually builds a very powerful and healthy respect for violence. I believe in that truth. When one truly understands their own capacity to actually physically harm another human being, tempered with discipline and honor, one is far less likely to actually be violent. It's true. He went on, I encourage you to go, if you go from my post and read Dana's thing, his whole thing is very eloquent. And I would agree with that. Life is dangerous. People climb mountains, people go bungee jumping and rock climbing. That's potentially dangerous, and nobody thinks of that as harsh or harmful. I know it does seem rough to be punching someone in the face, but people are doing it in a controlled environment, and my feeling is it's like money. I could see a society in which we didn't need money because we all just shared and took care of each other, but the reality of our world is that money exists, and we use it as a currency of energy, and it's not completely fair, but if you're afraid of it and don't understand it, then it holds a power over you which is negative. If you understand it, you know how to work with it, then it's positive. And I would say the same thing about violence. When I was younger, because I was so little and a little different than other people, I got picked on a lot. So I used to get very angry and I would always get in fights. And in my teens, I started getting into martial arts. And I progressed through a lot of different styles, and I ended up doing something called Aikido and Tai Chi, so the softer arts, which eventually led me into yoga. And I feel like by understanding violence, I had a respect for it, and then I never got in fights anymore. And I became a much more peaceful, loving person. So still, I don't know what the answer is. I'd like to hear your responses to what you think about that. But I do know that I enjoy watching the UFC. I'll talk to you next time. And remember, Scatterheart loves you. Hooah!